What's up, YouTube? This is the Atheist Chef, and I'm here to ask a question. If the devil is tricking me and the sin has got such a stranglehold on me, then why am I going to hell? This video is basically a response to the idea that the devil and the sin that's in this world has a hold on our atheistic minds or the non-believers' minds, that they're just not able to be convinced by the Christian argument. That the noetic effects of sin are basically it ruins our intelligence, and to me that's just a little bit insulting, don't you think? And I don't think they're trying to be insulting. I think some of them maybe, but that intention, saying that, oh, because sin isn't, ruining our intelligence, that we can't believe in God, because somebody that believes in God is obviously going to be more intelligent than someone that isn't going to believe in him. It's just a tiny jab, and but okay, that's not the point. That's not why I'm making this video. I just want to go, or what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be exploring this notion of sin's effects on my mind, and if I can really believe, and how it affects my salvation. Basically, the point of this video is, if the sin and the devil have an effect and a hold on my mind, and I'm supposed to believe in the resurrection and believe in all that, how does that happen? Because right now I currently don't believe, because the devil has a hold on my mind, but I'm told that I'm supposed to just believe. Well, how do I just believe? So let's begin. So if I were to ask a Christian what salvation is, and how do I get saved? Well, you say, you have to believe in what Jesus has done. You have to believe in his death and resurrection. You have to believe that his blood paid for your sins, that it was the ultimate sacrifice, and God loves you, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, great. However, we have a problem. If we're in agreement that the devil has its hold on me, that I'm just not able to believe in the Christian arguments because of the devil, then why is this my fault? Why am I going to hell, or going to get obliterated, or get a separation from God, whichever particular brand of Christianity you want to go with? Why is that my fault? Why? I can't control it. And God certainly isn't stepping in to make me disbelieve what the devil's trying to trick me into believing. So if I die, why am I getting blamed for this? But if you're a Christian, you're likely telling me through the screen that yes, you do have an option. God is offering you something. He is trying to do something. However, I still don't believe it. I have to believe it. I have to actually sit there and say, well, I believe what God has done for me. Jesus hung on the cross, blah, blah, blah. But I don't. And, me just sitting there saying, because Christians will say, oh, you have to profess with your mouth that, what God did. Well, I can say as much as what I can profess that God has done these things, and Jesus hung on the cross and, resurrected, but it doesn't mean I believe it. I can say that I have $1 million, but I sure as hell don't. Otherwise, I wouldn't be working 2 jobs. But I actually have to believe it. But I just can't change or choose to believe in something. There has to be a middle step. You can't just go from 0 to 60. There is a progression that has to take place. So let's do a nice little mental exercise, and let's just say we have an atheist. He's on the side of the road, and he runs out of gas in his car. And so, he's just sitting there, and he's like, all right, so I choose to believe that I have gas in my car. I choose to believe I have gas in my car, therefore it's there. Well, no, that doesn't make any sense. However, they can convince himself or use reason to believe that he has gas in his tank. He can say, well, now that the car is stopped and it's settled, maybe there'll be some gas and that have settled toward the center. And I know, Redline, you're going to watch this and be like, motherfucker, that's not how gas tank works in most vehicles. I don't know jack about cars, so shut up, Redline. But or say, well, maybe there's now a collection of fumes or something, and maybe my car will start and I can run a little bit longer without gas. You had to use reason to gather evidence to believe that this was going to happen. So he was bad reason and bad logic and bad evidence, but he didn't just choose to believe he had gas in his car. He used his reasoning and logic to get there. So let's put a Christian in the same situation. So they're, of course, not going to choose to believe that they have gas in their tank right after they, now that if they were trying the car again, they're going to all of a sudden have gas. However, they will pray to God to answer their prayer for gas in their car. But the funny thing about that is they had to use reason and logic to get there. Now, what I mean is that they had to, compare to their past experiences. Well, I've read the Bible and it says that God answers prayer if I needed him. I've heard many stories where God has answered prayer. I've had personal experiences with God, so I believe that he exists. They can come up with many reasons to believe, to have that evidence to think, okay, well, God will answer my prayer and I'm going to have gas in my car next time I turn my key. So if I can't choose to believe in Jesus' death and resurrection, and the devil has a hold on my mind and that I'm not ever convinced by the Christian arguments or even convinced that the death and resurrection happened, then really I'm just kind of screwed, because I can try and profess that it happened, but I'm doing nothing more than lying to God, and I'm lying to myself and lying to the people that hear it. Salvation really can't happen unless you really believe. You can make the argument that you have to have faith and that you have to kind of, ignore your reason and logic, and that will provide you the evidence, the subjective personal experience that will cause you to believe. Well, to get to that point of me dismissing my logic and evidence, I actually have to use reason and logic to actually get to that point of saying, well, if I'm going to believe this, if I'm going to be this Christian, if I'm going to claim, this belief, I have to ignore that. I have to dismiss it. So you still have to use reason and logic to get there. So I want to talk a little bit about my conversion story, about the 5 minutes, before I actually just, got saved or whatever. I was 11, and I'd been going to this church for a while, really non-denominational, name it, claim it, slain in the spirit kind of church. And I'd been seeing all these people, dancing and singing and clapping and getting slain in the spirit, getting, laying out on the floor and crying and laughing and, but then one day I was at church with one of my buddies, and so again, we were like 11. And so the lady at the front says, hey, do you want to do an altar call? If you're not saved, this is the time to do it. And my buddy said, hey, are you saved? And I was like, no, not really. He said, well, get your butt up there. All right, I'm walking up, and then she starts talking about what I need to do to be saved. She said, you need to believe in what Jesus had done and, believe in his resurrection. And, I kind of, had a little mental flashback of thinking of, okay, this is, I'd been, this wasn't brand new to me. I've been, grew up in Louisiana. It's a very conservative Christian state. So it's very, you hear it all the time, Jesus and resurrection, whatever. So I was aware of, the resurrection, and I could see these people, I could think back at all these times people getting slain in the spirit and laughing and crying and dancing and whatnot. And I thought to myself, well, obviously this is really happening. So, why would I not believe this? I should become a part of this. And so I did. I said everything. And that was my evidence. I had looked at what had happened, and that was what caused me to believe. I didn't just go from not believing to believing in his resurrection. I had already been kind of convinced in that. It was, poor evidence. It was bad evidence. It was bad reasoning and logic. But again, I was 11, so sue me. So that's just an anecdote, a little just one person story. But can you remember yours? Do you remember when you first got saved? Do you remember the situations that led to that? did you got evidence and you got, this proof, however it was just personal or from other, life events or whatever. You had used your reasoning and logic to get you there. You didn't just jump ship and say like, well, right now I don't believe, but I believe now, so God, forgive me. You did already believe. Things were already happening that were convincing you that it was true. So let's form this all into one coherent thought. If Christians believe that the devil is controlling my mind, or that the sin has such an effect on my mind that I can't accept Christian apologetics, then I'm kind of screwed, because the only option that I have is to believe in Jesus' resurrection. However, that process of belief actually requires reasoning and logic, which is the one thing that the devil seems to have a hold on. So, how is this my fault? The only way that that can get fixed is if God himself comes in and fixes that. So, until he does that, why am I to blame? It's not my fault. It's your God's fault. Alright guys, this is the Atheist Chef signing off. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know it's 12 minutes or so that you can't get back. Hopefully, maybe it changed your mind a little bit, helped you see something in a new way. Who knows? But until next time, peace.